Hi, I'm Lynette and welcome. Today I'm going to be showing you a tutorial on this look right here, created using the Melt Cosmetics Vida palette. It arrived today, so I couldn't wait to crack it open and do a look with it. There we go. So you know what this palette looks like. I decided today to dip into these four shades right here. These yellows, oranges, and reds spoke to me because, you know, we're getting into summertime and the sun is shining, and so I figured I would use these colors today. Now, if you're interested in knowing what I thought about these shadows after using them for the first time today, then stick around till after the tutorial and I will tell you. In the meantime, if you'd like to see how I created this look today using the Melt Cosmetics Vida palette, then keep on watching. Starting off today's look with the NYX Jumbo Eye pencil in the color Milk. I wanted a white base to try to help these shadows pop, especially that orange, the first shade that I'm going to start off with. I've decided that I'm still in need of a white base, so if you know of any, please let me know in the comments below. I don't like this one. It creases. Before I'm even ready to get started with shadows, it's already creased. Going into the palette, and I'm taking the shade Soul, and I'm going to tap that into the inner crease, the inner corner in the inner part of the crease there. And I'm going to go back into the palette multiple times to build this shade up. And as you can see, it is a vibrant, pigmented orange yellow, more orange than yellow. And I like to, especially with pigmented matte shades such as this, I like to start off patting the shades and building the shade up before I go into blending. I find that this is helpful to try to ward off any problems with patchiness. So just tap it and build up the shade and get it to cover every area that I want it to cover. Build up the opacity. And then I'm going to go in with back and forth motions and little circular motions and start to blend it out. And it still retained a lot of its vibrancy even after blending. And I'm sure placing it on this white base did help. And that's the whole point of a white base, to try to help your eyeshadows pop, especially bright or neon shadows. Going back into the palette, and I'm taking Pan Dulce, and I'm going to place that on the outer half of the crease and have it meet that orange shade we just put in the inner corner, inner half of the crease. And again, same method, tapping the shade on there, building it up, going back into the palette multiple times to build it up. Make sure that I can't see my skin anywhere underneath the eyeshadow, and then I'm going to go in and blend. And it's important that you blend in between these two shades as well, because you don't want there to be any harsh line or separation between the two eyeshadows. You want to make sure that they blend seamlessly together, where you can't see where one eyeshadow ends and the other one begins. So I'm going to use little back and forth and circular motions in between the two eyeshadows to facilitate that blend. Now I'm going into the palette, and I'm taking Mexicana on a smaller, round, tapered blending brush, and same method, tapping it onto the outer V area. That's where I want to concentrate this color, and then blend it halfway into the crease. And this shade is a little more red than that last shade we put down. That last shade was a little more orange. It's orangey red, but a little more on the orange side. And this eyeshadow leans more towards the red side. But once I layered them and blended them, you didn't really see too much separation between the two, too much difference between the two. And my apologies, I went into the palette and I applied the shade Alegria on the lid. I applied it dry, but somehow just didn't record this step. This is the third time now that I've done this. I've scrapped 2 other videos because of that. Now I'm taking NYX, Blame It on Midnight, and that's to blend out the edges of those shadows in the crease, and also to serve as my underbrow highlight. Please let me know in the comments below if you want to see the other 2 tutorials I did where I left out the application of the lid shade. I don't know how I did that twice. And now I'm going in with the Colourpop gel, the cream gel liner in the shade Puppy, and it's an orange, and I'm placing that in the waterline. I'm sorry, I'm out of frame here. And this, you know, it wasn't very bright, but, you know, I guess it did the trick. Going back into the palette, and I'm going back in with that orange shade. I believe that's Pan Dulce. And I'm just going to use a pencil brush to place that on the first half of the lower lash line. And I think it goes nicely with the orange liner that's in the waterline. And I'm just going to bring this halfway across, because on the opposite side of the waterline, I'm going to add that Mexicana, that really deep red shade that I applied on the outer V area on the lid. And then of course blend those two shadows together, because you want there to be a seamless blend between the two. Now I'm going to take a Give Me Glow single eyeshadow in the shade Going Bananas, and I'm going to use this dry. I decided I wanted an inner corner pop of a metallic shadow, but I think there's only 2 metallic shades in this palette, and I didn't want to use either one of those, so I chose this yellow. And this is the completed look. I used the Rimmel Precision liner to do my wing and my liner, and my Kiss faux mink lashes in the style Little Black Dress. So as you saw in the tutorial, the shadows blended out really nicely. They're pigmented, and to be as pigmented as they are, the fact that they blended out so well was very surprising to me, especially from Melt, because Melt Cosmetics, you know, they don't have my favorite eyeshadow formula, and that's because oftentimes they have a lot of fallout. The shadows are really powdery, and sometimes they can be difficult to blend. Now, as for powderiness, they still are powdery. You get a lot of kick up in the pan, but I didn't have any fallout on my face, and I did tap my brush after each time I went into the pan. So, but yeah, surprisingly, I didn't have any fallout on my face. I was really, again, pleasantly surprised at how impactful this metallic shade was without having to wet my brush, because that's normally what I do. But I like to go in the first time using a shadow with it dry, just to see how it looks and how it will perform. And this was fine. I didn't have to wet it at all, so I can only imagine what it would look like if I wet it. I am a little disappointed, because I thought, I don't know why, I just thought that this look would have been a lot brighter. I guess because the pigment in the palette, the colors are so rich, and I did use a white base, and I still feel like that this yellow, well, this orange shade just wasn't as bright as I was expecting it to be. This shade right here definitely turned out to be more orange than I expected it to be, so that was good. And then the metallic shade was really nice. So this look turned out a little more subdued than what I thought it would, but I still like the way it came out. Now, let me know if you'd like to see any more tutorials with me using this palette. I definitely plan to get into these cool brown shades right here in the middle of the palette, and then at some point get into these greens, but I would like to get into the browns next. So let me know if you would like to see that, and I will get that out to you. Do you have this palette? What do you think of this palette? So far, I'm impressed, especially it being Melt. If you liked this video, then please give it a like and consider subscribing, because I do eyeshadow tutorials, hauls, swatches, and reviews here every Saturday. I want to thank you for joining me today. I hope to see you again next week. Until then, bye-bye.